have them included in the process, in the overall company strategy, so they know where they fit. They understand why their role is important and how your work depends on them.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I'm so excited. We have a special guest today, and we're going to talk all things sales and particularly with scaling a team of sales so that you don't have to be the one that does all the sales. Today, we have Chiraz Benjamin, and she is an entrepreneur and she is an expert in all things sales, business cooperation, as well as project management. And she has been working with entrepreneurs for over 10 years in over 12 countries. And she has worked with creating sales engines for products that total over $3 million worth of product and service sales. She is the founder and CEO of Pitch World Fast, which is a business development consultancy firm and project management company that she started in 2015 that supports clients and their experts in cooperation projects in Africa as well as other emerging markets. And today we are going to talk sales and particularly how to build an outbound sales team within your company and create an engine that can work without you. So join me in welcoming Chiraz to the platform. Hi, Chiraz. How are you doing?
Hi, Suzanne. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing really good today. I'm excited about this topic.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you. I love sales.
And our clients do too, and our listeners do too. A lot of our clients, are $500,000 plus. So they start in about $500,000, they go up to like 50 million in revenue plus. And obviously they're used to selling on their own, right? Because to get to $500,000, to get to seven figures, you have to be pretty good at being able to build relationships and talk to people. But they're now at this point where they can't do it all, right? They want to start to leverage the power of the team and really start to create a sales team. And I'm really excited about having you on our show today because you have built sales teams around the world, right? An outbound sales team. And today I really want to talk about how do you build an outbound sales team? So thank you, Taras, for helping us with that. So I'm going to start my first question today is where do we start? Where do we start with building an outbound sales team?
Oh my God. I think human resources in general, when it comes to companies, is one of the hardest things because you want to make sure that these people understand your product, their service, that they believe in it, that they are in line with your culture, that if you could, they could be like you, but it's like a mini you. So I think this is maybe one of the most challenging, but what is important is that you need to see the potential of those sales team. You need to see these people that are solution oriented and go getters, because then you can train them. Like when we as founders and you and your audience, we got to train, we got to learn, right? So it isn't so much about do they have sales experience. It might be better to actually get this young graduate that you can actually mold, but he has the motivation. Because when we're looking at outbound sales, you want people that are still very motivated, that they are not afraid to go, and they want to showcase that they can do it and that they want to do it. You want the fire, right? You really want that. You want the energy. And I think that is what's so important. So I would always recommend to focus on the personalities, go beyond the questions that, or if this person says this, how would you react? It's not about the content, but about how they say it, the attitude, the communication. It's really more about how they portray themselves, because this is how you want them to portray you. So this is what you should focus on. So I think you need this like really fire people. Obviously, it doesn't have to be only young people, but I recommend usually to have this 24 to 30 really young graduates that really want to prove themselves. And because by doing this, you're also giving them this opportunity that potentially you might have wanted, and that if you would have had it at the time before starting on your previous, you'll be like, I love this opportunity, I want to take it. So I think this is it. Like you really need to, and you shouldn't also focus only about, oh, maybe they're joining only for the salary. It's okay. Think about how you can build them and then keep them. It's okay if this is their first motivation. The most important then will be how to keep them motivated and stay with you and your company.
I love that you said that's normal that they're motivated by money because you actually want a salesperson that's motivated by money. I remember when we hired our first salesperson, and, the first question they asked me in the interview was, how much am I going to make? And, in the accounting world, it's like taboo. Like you never talk about salary until you get the offer. But this person asked me straight out. And I remember that I was actually told, hey, that's actually a good question because you want your salesperson to actually be motivated by money, right?
Of
You want
course.
them to actually want to get that moving target. So that's amazing that you absolutely say that. And again, it's all about the attitude, right? The attitude that they have, and that fire in their belly to make more sales with that. And so
Sure.
now that you talked about the character of what we were looking for, then tell me about how do you motivate them? How do you keep them in the game with that? And how do you get them moving towards certain targets and revenue goals?
I think I would say everyone is motivated differently, right? I'm sure the way you're motivated might be completely different. Me, what motivates me, for example, a lot of people know I tell them I love sales. They're like, what? You love like scamming people and just like negotiating and talking numbers? Like, no, I don't scam first people. I only work with projects or services that I believe in. So that's the first thing you want. If you want them motivated, you have to make sure that actually they understand what you're doing and the value that, because at the end of the day, it's not just a product or a service, right? But then understanding what motivates them personally. As I mentioned, for me, for example, what motivates me is especially when I go in new markets, understanding and profiling people, understanding who they are, how they react, what could, like listening to them, what could make them click and what could make them buy. So I would say that what is important if you want them to continue to be motivated, first, you can literally ask them the question, have this open conversation. First, why did you join the company? Why did you accept our offer? If they say it's about money, as we said, fine, completely clear. If they say we like the brand, we wanted to try, etc., that's fine. Why did you come? Then the second question is, why did you stay? And it's very funny because some people never ask themselves when they are employee, why did I stay for the company? Because they just see the time going and going. But then you would have, because when I do sales training, I actually ask them because I want to make sure that these people embody the culture of the company because they are the company's ambassador. So you want to make sure, right, that they have that. But I remember one of them telling me, so first he felt ashamed saying, I actually came because of the money. And then I asked, but why did you stay? He's like, because I like the team, because I like the product and I believe in them. I was like, that is what is important. That's what's important for us. So I think if you want to keep motivating them, first, have an open conversation. Make sure that you know what motivates them on a personal thing, on the personal level and professional level. Know what are their ambitions and how you can support them in that. Maybe they have this entrepreneurship drive. So why not see with them having like a small project within your company that can be their own project that they would run, and like this you can keep this motivation as like, oh, I'm doing something entrepreneurial but I don't have the risks. So trying to understand really how do they see themselves in the future, and then when it comes to the targets, because obviously when we are salespeople, we're always looking at our targets. I want to sell X, I want to see, but it isn't so much about how much you would sell. I learned it maybe the hard way, or at least the best way, because it's more about the outcome. Let's say you have 4 meetings, and out of them you actually sold to one of them, so you have a 25% success rate. That is great. So instead of focusing about how much money you made, maybe focus about, okay, out of everything that I've done and the efforts that I've put, how much did I actually bring money out, or did I succeed? So that it isn't so much about the number, but the actual success. Because we know sales is a lot about rejection. And again, it's about learning from these rejections, right? Because if it's just like, oh, I'm getting another no, and just that is like, okay, how can I improve myself? So I would say, think differently about your numbers and make your team think about it. Because if you put them in charge to a certain extent, but you can help them with the numbers, being like, these are your KPIs, these are the company KPIs, and be like, what do you think you can do? Because we are all human beings and we are all overachievers. if you notice, I'm sure if you look at when you look at your resolution for next year, and when you look at what you want to accomplish in 10 years, there's a big gap. You feel like you can do way much more in 1 year than what you can do in 10 years, right? But the thing is, because you want to do it, then you're pushing yourself. And I think this is very important. But so try to have, so if I had to, because I tend to go a bit everywhere, but I would say understand your team, understand what motivates them, speak with them, have this open relationship, make them responsible for their success, but also understand what type of management they are also more inclined. Because I've learned with some teams that even if everyone is about, oh no, you shouldn't micromanage, there are some people that need this micromanagement because this is what they need and this is how they can work. So this is why I think it's important that you talk with your team and make sure to have them included in the process, in the overall company strategy, so they know where they fit. They understand why their role is important and how your work depends on them. So they see the responsibility without putting too much pressure, because obviously some people might not actually handle too much pressure. Although salespeople, usually it's all about that, but you never know. But just include them in the conversation. If you do this, I'm 100% sure that your team will be motivated, because there is going to be a positive environment where they feel they can grow and challenge themselves. A good salesperson is all about that growth and learning. And I think any person, an entrepreneur in general. So I think a lot of us would recognize ourselves in that.
I love that. That's really neat. I'm wondering too, one of the things that happens with sales teams is, obviously, getting that return is really important with your sales team. I like to see for sales advertising, a 10x on costs is what I like to see in terms of what they're able to generate. And when you're dealing with that, is one of the things is what happens when they don't make quota, when they don't hit the target. What do you do at that point?
I think first off, maybe not wait the quarter to be like, oh, you didn't hit that. But, and again, try to keep the communication and understand. As in, not only you, but have them. One tool that I give to any person that I train is really giving them this automatism every single time they go out of any meeting or any call, to reflect on it. What went well? What went wrong in the way? How can I improve? Because then maybe you would look and you will see that maybe it was a bad mood, like it happens, or that the person in front of you, because we we tend to be subjective when it comes to sales. One of the worst and the best tool that I've learned how to sell was with the first job that I joined, is whenever I was doing a sales, they were recording my sales part. It was horrible, because right after we would listen to the recording, and I'm sure nobody really liked listening to their voices, but especially when you do the sales and when you have to be proactive, it's like one go and just like talking. But it was the best exercise, because then nobody is on the is defensive. It's not like, oh no, this is not what I meant, or this is not what I said. It's like, okay, I said that. How can I say it differently? Why did I miss from my client? What could I've said? And I think maybe I would recommend, if you see that your team didn't hit, you can give them this as a tool. First, obviously reflect. Second, why not record yourself and let's work on it together to see how we could have done it better, so that next time we have the same situation, we don't miss it. And I would also add, maybe create this potential sharing platform between the different sales, so the sales team and even with you or the person that could be responsible, so that they feel like, okay, I hit this challenge. What could have, this is what I've done. Any other ideas? Because we all have our own styles also when it comes to sale. We all have our own personalities. So maybe trying something different could actually help and change the thing. So I would say, if the first time the person didn't hit the target, the first thing in any case is understand why. Understand maybe also, maybe this niche isn't the niche today that is ready for your product and service. So first off, understand, get the data, get the information. The second thing, learn from it, how to improve, put on some tools like recording the sales meeting maybe to see how to improve it, and then have an environment where people can really share and give some ideas on how. Then it's up to obviously the person to say, oh, let me try it. And why not try it? What's the worst thing that can happen if you try and it doesn't work, if it didn't work before, right? It can just potentially work. So I would say, yeah, that would be my recommendations.
I love that. So just coaching, right? Giving feedback, listening to those sales calls, and coaching the performance to take on the action and the changes that need to happen in order to increase that close rate. Tell me about when sales teams go wrong, right? Because that happens, it just goes wrong. Where do you find that sales teams go wrong, and why, and how do we stop that?
Usually when I saw like sales team going wrong is when the competition has gone way too far for, I would say at some point, for no specific reason. It's like they took it a bit too far. Obviously, salespeople are competitive, right? And you have the bonuses, right? And you're like, yeah, we want it, etc. But it goes wrong when it becomes individualistic, and this goes in line with your culture. So you have to make sure that they understand that they are a team and that together they succeed. Sure, maybe one would succeed a bit more because they might be better, but I I've seen it sometimes. People was like, oh, it's because you had a simple market, you had like simple clients, because yeah, it was. And you're like, okay, if that's what you think, why not switch it up a little bit? Let me give you those people this niche because you think that that's the thing. Then you challenge them. I think it's all about, again, the challenge, the competition, but in a very respectful way, and as a team, when we look at the bigger goal, not when you're looking just at yourself. And I think this goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. It was like, when you hire your team, just make sure that they will like be in line with what you believe in, how you see your company. Whenever I'm hiring people to work with me or like joining me with some project, I want to make sure that they understand what it is about, what I am about, how I work, how I think, why I do it, and why I do it that way. And then I tell them, look, no harm if you don't like this and this you're not your style. Well, obviously when you're recruiting is a different thing, but you have to think in yourself, even as a recruiter, when you're building your team, no hard feelings. These people are not your friends. You're not here to please them. They're not here specifically to please you, as in like, oh, let's be friends, but let's see, do we want to build this together? Are we in it really on the long term? And do we want to build it as a team? Because if you have somebody there's too, sometimes it's like when I like the collaterals, right? So maybe this person isn't performing the best, but maybe this person is actually the one that is motivating everyone, right? So that's why you want to keep. So you want this like, you don't want only strong personalities that at the end will just be like fighting with each other. You really want to find a balance so that everyone then grow, everyone is motivated and pushing themselves, and that they grow together. Because you manage to do this, your team's going to grow and your company is going to grow, and again, the environment is going to make it so that you are happy to continue coming up, showing up, and building.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So, making sure that your team has a team-centric culture versus an ego-centric culture, because that can easily happen, especially if you've got one person that is really killing it in sales. It's easy to get to their head, right? That everything relies on them, but just keeping it, even keel where everybody counts, everybody has a role is extremely important. And this was extremely valuable. One of the questions I wanted to ask you to Chayas that I like to ask all of our guests that have been on our show, and you've provided some amazing morsels for our audience here, is if you could leave our audience and our listeners with one piece of advice, and it can be personal, it can be business related, what would that one piece of advice be?
Okay, I'm gonna say, can I give one that is two? It's like kind of like a two advice, but it's in one.
Oh, we
In the
love it.
it's
Please
like
do. Please do.
it's like this thing's like, remember that it is whatever you're doing, it is your show, it is your moment. So that comes with the second advice that is linked to, is like, especially when it comes, for example, to sales, but not only, nobody know what you prepared, what you're supposed to, how you were supposed to dress up, what you were supposed to say, how you were supposed to act, what you, like, nobody, or like all. So do not give them that idea, be like, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't like, don't worry, just show up. It is your show, it is your moment. Bring this energy, bring the smile, bring the strong voice. It's all about you, knowing that you're listening to a client or your friends or whatever, obviously. But at the end of the day, allow yourself to shine. And whatever, if you're succeeding, embrace it. And if somebody is succeeding, embrace it, because it doesn't mean that you're failing. So just bring it the show. It is your show, it is your moment.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Is amazing advice. Don't get stuck in the moment. There's no judgment. You can always recreate the moment, right? That's amazing. Thank you for that piece of advice. Now, Chayez, for our viewers and listeners, so they can learn more from you and they can work with you and really start to build their outbound sales team, how do we contact you?
Well, I am, the company is on social media, in all social media. So on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So the company name Pitch World Fast. See, Pitch World Fast. And obviously, if you want to contact me personally, so you have my name, Shiraz Ben Seman. I'm also on LinkedIn. So do not hesitate to reach out to me or on our company social media. I'll be more than happy to help, to give advice, to discuss.
I love that. And I'm also going to put Chayez's contact information in our show notes so that you'll be able to reach out and contact her through the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for this opportunity, and loved our talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.